Hey, welcome back to Sessions with System and Soul with McKenzie Decker and myself, Benj Miller. And this is one of our sessions that we do doing a soul dive. And soul dives are things that we deeply believe in, taking the time to get introspective, have a moment where we're thinking deeply and really working on the internal systems of our soul so that we can show up as better people in the world around us, better leaders at work, at home, better friends, all those things. So glad to be here with one of my friends, McKenzie. McKenzie's going to lead us through our soul dive for the day. So McKenzie, how you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling reflective. So
well, that'll work.
yeah, it'll work for today. We do these soul dives internally with our coach community. So every couple of months we get our coaches together, and this is by far their favorite thing that we do with them. And so we want to give that to you. So what we did with our coaches was an exercise called Timelines of Transformation. And the idea came to me from, I think maybe this is true of most visionary type people. They tend to be future focused, thinking about what's next, what's coming. Like they think about what's around the corner as well as what the next 20 years look like. And I think when your mind is in that space 99% of the time, you generally don't look back very often and go like, let me think about, the last month. Let me think about the last 10 years. Let me think about the way that I've been shaped over my career or my life. And I think all timelines are valuable, but I think the visionary types especially may struggle to think about the past in a way that feels productive. And so I wanted to take the time and shape an exercise that helps us really see the value of past experience and how it affects us today and how it helps us lead into the future. So that was kind of the idea of this. And I'm also I think generally as a person, I'm just fascinated by how the smallest of moments can truly, like, over time, they really like turn the dial on someone's life. And sometimes it's one thing, and sometimes it's a chain of events, a chain of messages that shape the belief systems that we hold or how we ended up where we are. So that's what we're going to explore today. I'm going to have you walk through it with me because I think in the time that we have, you can maybe evaluate an experience that gives you some insight. Sound good?
Cool. Yeah, let's go. I resonate with that a lot. Like, part of me thinks if I spend any time, I think about the past because I can't change it.
Right.
And if I'm thinking about the past, I'm wasting time because it's not moving toward the future. But I know logically that's not all true and believe everything you said. So I'm on board. Let's go.
Well, I have you captive here for about 15 minutes, so you're
Right.
going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, be on my best behavior.
Yeah, we're gonna think about this in 3 timelines. So we're gonna look at a past moment. You can choose how far back you go in the past. Then we're gonna talk about the pivot. What changed for you in that? What was the before and after is really what we're getting at. Is like what did it look like before this moment? Your belief, your way of being, your how you interacted with others, and then what did it look like afterward? And then there's present, and present is how does this really shape you today? How does this impact how you lead today, who you are, lead as a peer, as a spouse, as a parent, as a partner, any of those ways. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break it down though one by one, and if you are listening, you can follow along. But we're going to start with past. So pick a moment. Pick something that it could be when you were 6 years old, on your very first, baseball team, basketball team. It could be past from, when you were in college or when you were in, the first few years of a career, starting a business, 25 years ago. Or it could be something, if that's too hard for you, just pick up your phone and look in your camera roll. There's probably a moment in the last 6 months in your camera roll that's going to offer some inspiration. So you can pick any of those timelines. You got one?
I'm right. Yes, I do. This is crazy though, because like I haven't thought about this in a decade, but first thing that came
Okay.
to mind. So,
You gonna tell me what it is?
oh, sure. So when I was like 17, 18 years old, I at the church we were at, I had this like burning vision that we lived in rural Ohio, right? So there's like literally nothing to do except for get in trouble. And so I just thought like, hey, if we built something that was like basically a club, and there was a club in Nashville called Rocket Town that some people I knew had started, and it was banging, man. Like kids would come into the city and go to this. It was a Christian club, so it was like there was no drugs, there was no alcohol. It was just literally a safe place, and there was uh, adults who would like go around and just be there for kids if they needed somebody, right? So there was all these cool like side conversations. I'm like why don't we have something like this? We could build it. I could see it. Our church had like 80 acres that they weren't doing anything with, and I like sold this up the food chain, and somehow like I got the thing built. It was $3.5 million back in, I don't
What?
know, 1998 or something, 1997. Well, yeah, probably 97. But here's where the twist comes, is because like I like visioneered this whole thing and like somehow pulled it off, and it got built. In my head, I am like, this is now my career. Like, this is going to be my job. I'm going to run this place. No, like, they were not about to put an 18-year-old in charge of this, brand new $3.5 million
Well, the
facility.
fact that you could even sell them on the idea, I can see why you might think that. You're like,
Right. I'm like, nobody else has the vision for what this needs to be. And the vision definitely got tamed down very quickly. But I mean, the facility was awesome. Um, and this is funny. I have not ever thought about this, because it ended up, I can't remember what it's actually called. It's called like the Avenues or something, or the Avenue. But originally, when we were like, selling it and designing it and everything, you know what it was called?
what?
Planet Soul.
What?
I'd never thought about that until you hit this right here. But yep, Planet
Oh,
Soul, middle of a cornfield, rural Ohio. So yeah, it was. It's funny. Anytime like we go to these like memory kind of exercises, it's always the one that have hurt in them that like make the biggest impact. I think you don't really grow much from victory, from celebration, from those happy moments. They're great. I love them, but like it's those ones where you're like really kind of hurt by the situation in some way, or the person, or whatever. So yeah, that's my memory. That came to mind.
that's a strong one. And I can't believe in all the time I've known you have never heard of this. Um, that's crazy. I think you're right too about if you picked a moment that is something a positive, there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that some of that hurt is what informs us the most, whether or not we're conscious of it. So I think those need special evaluation. Even if if you didn't pick that today, that's okay. But there's definitely some of those that I think have the strongest voices in our heads. Um, I'll go quick here, but I shared this at one of our trainings, and it popped up in my mind that day for whatever reason. But I had a moment where I played softball growing up, and my very first season, it was t-ball because I was like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old, and the way that the rules of the game were they would pitch it 3 times, and if you couldn't hit it from the coach pitch, then you have to hit off the tee. And I got in my head I don't know where this came from at all, but I got in my head that if I had to hit off the tee, like I was a failure, like a failure of all failures, life was going to be over. Like I was like very physically afraid of like having the anxiety was so real. If I had to hit off this tee, like I was just mortified. And I ended up like psyching myself out to the point where one of the times I was at bat, I missed all 3 pitches. Was getting more and more nervous every single time. And of course, that's going to make it hard for you to do what you need to do. So I had to hit off the tee, and it was like so devastating in that moment. But I remember my coach being like, "You got this," and I hit it off the tee, and it was like this moment of failure, but it's also like a moment of victory, and we can get to that because something shifts, I think, in those little moments. And so that's where we're headed next. So we've got a moment in the past, unpacked it a little bit. We're remembering the details of what that looked like and how it felt. So now let's talk about the pivot. What shifted in that moment? What changed in your thinking, maybe your behaviors, maybe most importantly, your belief system in that moment? So is there something for you in like this planet soul that shifted, that shifted for you?
Yeah, I think there's some learning about myself, and learning about other people too. Like my, I think it was maybe it was probably not the first, but pretty early on in life, learning that like my visions aren't crazy, right? Like I can see a need and build something that really matters. I also learned that I'm probably optimistically naive, and like you see this in me all the time. It's still a character trait. Even yesterday in our meeting, right? It's like, hey, let's do this thing, and you're like, yeah, but you're not weighing all of the like cost of all this thing. Oh, it'll be easy, it'll be fast, it's already done. All those things. So I actually don't want to lose that. I want to acknowledge it more, but not lose it. And then this was a big one. Like, how do I make sure that if I've got expectations in my head, that those are like real? Having the conversation, not assuming things, but going and having the conversation. Had we had that conversation a lot earlier, I probably would have. I don't know what would have happened, but I wouldn't have been so hurt in the moment when I wasn't the person. But then the last thing I think is just like I continue to want to give other people a shot. Like when somebody has an idea or some ambition, like I always want to give them a shot to see what they're capable of, because I had some people give me a shot along the way, and so I think if we don't give people shots, then they're going to miss their potentially. So that's like my obligation back, is to give other people shots.
You got ahead of me here, but I'm glad you did, because the third part of this exercise is, so we talk about kind of the past moment, then what shifted and why it matters now. And you kind of answered that already, that one of your takeaways from that is like you felt like you were given a shot, and it motivates you now as a leader to give that to others, which,
Yeah.
by the way, like 100%, I 100% see that. I felt like you gave that to me day after day after day when we first started working together, and still now. But I'm like, he saw something in me that I just I didn't get, so to be the recipient of that is phenomenal. And I think it makes you want to be better when someone sees that in you.
Yeah. I want to go back to, so I did jump ahead in the pivot. I think what you're saying, so correct me if I'm wrong. Another way to say that is the reframe. Like, how did you go from how you felt about it in that moment to like, how are you going to reframe this for your own good going forward?
Yeah, that's
And I think that's super powerful. That's where, like, if you see people in victim mode that don't have agency, they're usually not reframing their own stories for their own benefit.
Oh shoot. I hadn't, that's not at all what I intended for the exercise, but I really like that. The idea of the shift was more like what was before and what came after, like in that moment, what changed in you. But I really like what you're saying, because it's like you could take that as I was hurt. And so I was hurt by this thing, and now I believe that I can't trust people with my ideas.
Yeah, right.
But what you've just said is, if we're 20, 30 years down the road from that moment, we can look back at that and say, that may have been how that felt then, that before and after at that time. But up until, now I'm at a point where I can say, I can see something different in that. I have more wisdom to see what this really taught me and have control over the narrative. I like that.
Right. I feel like maybe it's just me, but I have to, because otherwise, what happened in that moment? Well, I became bitter and disillusioned, and right, like, and now I'm carrying that around for the rest of and I probably did get a little bit of disillusionment that never wanted me to, like, I don't want to get stuck in as a cog in a big machine with a lot of politics. Like, so it probably does carry over some of the air quotes negative, but I even that I want to use for, okay, so where is my realm that I can play? Well, I'll be self-employed. I'll do my own thing. I'll build businesses. I'll whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but if I didn't reframe, I would be a nasty human.
Yeah, I think we all would. And I think that's why looking back is so important. That evaluated experience, I think it needs to be evaluated over and over and over,
Yeah.
because there's a version of each of us, that maybe we're not ready to look at it and think, maybe we're not ready to look
Oh
at it and
yeah.
think this was actually a good thing for me, and a lot of good came out of it. Yeah, it hurt, and there's real hurt in that. We don't want to, like, I don't think we can ignore that, but there's so much that came out of that moment that made us better or shaped us to be the type of person we are now, that we are proud to be. like in
Yeah.
my like in my story, hitting off the tee in that moment, and for many many years after that, like I have been somebody who gets really nervous about messing up. Like, if I mess up, I feel it so deeply, and it's just like this self-hatred for messing up something that I should be good at. And I think, if I think about it now, like, I mean, that was 28 years ago or whatever. And going through what we have as a business and running a team and leading people, it's like there's no room for that. Like, if we have to hit off the tee, we have to hit off the tee. Like, we got to keep going. and
Yeah.
and there's no time to give to petty failure. It's failure's failure. Like, we're gonna learn something, we're gonna get to run the bases anyway. Like, just go, just enjoy it and move on. And
What
I don't.
crossed my mind was like, I wondered, like, because you're so competitive, I wondered if the story was going to. I figured out I could hit it further off the tee, so I would strike out get my 3 strikes, get it on the tee, and then hit a home run every time. And I gamed the system. So it's like, maybe we look silly hitting it off the tee, but maybe we actually get more results by doing it that way.
Yeah, hadn't thought of that then. Wished you would have been my coach at that time. But yeah, so I think you're totally right. Like, there could be ways that we let these stories, like, just inform us of the same negative message, but that's why we want to evaluate it. We want to let it shift in our mind, and we want to use it as a way to look back and say, how is this affecting what I think of myself and what I do every day, and how is this affecting how I lead the people around me.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's so hard because, like, when you first started, I'm like, well, what moment am I gonna think of? And then something in your setup sparked that one. But and that's probably a big one, but it's probably a big one I haven't thought about in 10 or 20 years.
It's
On the
also,
flip side, what you said, all those small ones that go unreflected and unreframed, how powerful would it be if I know I'm not good at this. This is something that I have to be very intentional to do. So
yeah, maybe the takeaway for everybody listening is, do this once for yourself, and then start to chain those events together, and
that's really
see
good.
what happens. I think it's fascinating that you're able to tie Planet Soul to the conversation that we had yesterday, that was all about, like, when there's vision happening and there's brainstorming happening, there's this, like, there is some affirmation that you're looking for, but you're also, one thing that's really interesting, and by the way, the affirmation of, like, the yes, and, like, this idea is worthy, and we're going to take a minute to give it room to breathe and grow. Like, that is something that I feel a little bit challenged by, that I have to keep working on. And I appreciate that you brought that up yesterday. And I think you've been doing that. I mean, you've been doing that for decades now, like you said.
McKenzie, thanks for walking us through that. Thanks for sharing your T-ball story. I'm sure that in the moment that was like, it's so funny looking back, because you're like, well, you're just a kid playing T-ball. Like, who cares? But man, those moments in the moment when you're at the base, center of attention, you feel like the entire world's staring at you, and you just want to make mom and dad like so proud. Like, those shape us in ways that we can't even imagine. So I love the idea to take time to reflect. I'll add one other, like, good takeaway from this is, I wonder what would happen if you, for 1 week, just took one thing from yesterday that didn't maybe happen the way you wanted, or, just anything, one little thing from yesterday, reflect on it today, create that pivot moment for the present so that you can take that into the future. I wonder what would happen if we did it with those micro moments, like every day, and just doing a week little challenge would be really fun. So I'm thinking about that. I'm not committing it to it yet because I commit to way too much and then don't follow through. But I'm thinking about it. I love the idea. But thanks for bringing it today. If you enjoyed this, share it with somebody. That's the best thing you can do. Best way you can help us and say thank you is just sharing it, or leave us a comment or review. We appreciate you. We're glad you're here. This is all for you. So if you have ways that you think we can grow and get better, let